going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again. Welcome to the start of my reviews for the new MCU Disney Plus series, What If? Guys, if you are new to the channel and if you love the MCU, please hit that like button and consider clicking that subscribe button because I'm going to be covering this show every single week like I have done for every single MCU show thus far with WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki. Going to be doing the same thing for What If. Guys, if you are a returnee to the channel, welcome. If you're tuning on into the chat, let me know what you guys thought of the first episode of What If. And are you excited for this series? Are you not excited for it? Let's have a great discussion about it. As always, guys, we'll dive into the first episode. Spoilers, of course, if you have not watched the first episode of What If, go watch it on Disney Plus, and then we'll talk about it in the comments below. So the show What If all around, I'll be honest, guys, this was at the bottom of my most anticipated of the MCU shows when they announced them back at Comic-Con in 2019. It was this and Loki were my least anticipated shows. But look how Loki turned out. Loki is my favorite of the MCU shows so far. So maybe What If could be right behind it or even better than Loki. We'll find out. But we're talking about the first episode today. What is up, Disney nerd? How you doing? The episode was very enjoyable for sure, but felt a little too silly at points in time. Yes, we'll talk about that for sure, man. My overall thoughts on the first episode, it was solid. I didn't think it was out of this world amazing, but it is a very interesting concept for sure, diving into the multiverse and a new Captain America. We're going to talk all about this, guys, so we're starting off right now, episode 1 of What If. So, the episode opens up with Jeffrey Wright as the voice of the Watcher, and he is explaining what this world is, and that he sees all the realities in the multiverse, and he says space, time, reality, and then the show opens up with the Watcher, and he was one of my most anticipated going into the show for sure. Jeffrey Wright, I love him as an actor, and just to see the Watcher. So then we go right into Peggy Carter becoming Captain America. That's what this episode is. What if Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? And I just love how the episode got right into it. You see Captain America, the first Avenger, Steve Rogers was first in the serum. But then something happens, and then Peggy Carter ends up going in, and she becomes Captain America. And it was an interesting flip 180 of Peggy Carter instead becoming Captain America. And she becomes the name Captain Carter, as we've seen in the trailers. And pretty awesome suit, pretty awesome shield right there. And I just really enjoyed just the fight sequences in this episode. It definitely brought me back to my favorite MCU, or one of my favorite MCU movies, First Avenger. And it's a cool flip 180 going into the multiverse, seeing Peggy Carter being Captain America. And we also get to see some returnee characters in there, like, Howard Stark, Steve Rogers, of course. But Chris Evans isn't voicing him, which is disappointing. But we also see the Colonel, Tommy Lee Jones, didn't really look like him at all in this episode. That was kind of one of my issues overall. So it was cool to see Captain Carter overall getting the fight scenes, fighting off all the Nazi Hydra people. So we also see Red Skull in this episode too. Pretty weird. He doesn't have that big of a presence at all in this episode. But, of course, we do see Bucky once again, and Sebastian Stan is reprising his role, voicing, and Haley Atwell as well as reprising her role as Peggy Carter as the voice. And we see the Howling Commandos again. Pretty cool, underrated characters in there. Peggy's fighting off these Hydra super soldiers, and then meets up again with Bucky and the Howling Commandos. They're wondering where Steve is, and they're wondering who she is. And then we see Steve Rogers. We'll talk about that. But it's cool to see Peggy this time doing the iconic Captain America scenes. Like we see the whenever the montage scenes in First Avenger, she's walking with the Howling Commandos, shooting the gun. They're right next to her. So it was a cool difference in there for sure. That was one of my favorite parts of the episode. But we do see Steve Rogers, and he's in an Iron Man suit built by Tony Stark himself. So I was always wondering, seeing Steve Rogers wearing an Iron Man suit. So he wearing a little tech armored suit for the war that Howard Stark made. So that's pretty awesome right there. We see Steve in an Iron Man suit, kicking ass and taking names with Peggy. So that was pretty cool and entertaining. I definitely enjoyed that. The animation is a little different, but I do like it. It's not perfect. It is different for sure. What is up, Amari? How you doing, man? Good to see you in here. Buffer, thank you. No, you're the man that you're always in here commenting. You're the man, sir. And Disney Nerd says, Hail Hydra. And one of my issues is seeing the presence of, Red Skull, and you have, what's his name? Arnim Zola. They really didn't have that much of a presence in this episode because I do love Hydra in the MCU. The suit felt like Iron Man suit mixed with the Iron Giant, or kind of like Ironmonger mixed with Iron Man. Pretty weird overall. So we see the scene, of course, the iconic scene from First Avenger with the train, with Cap, the Howling Commandos breaking in, trying to get Arnim Zola. And then Bucky falls off the train, and we know what happens. He becomes the Winter Soldier. But instead, we see Peggy in the Howling Commandos and Steve in the Iron Man suit trying to stop the train. But Steve ends up in an explosion. It's a trap. Hydra sets up some bombs. We think Steve Rogers died. I was like, I would have been pissed if they killed off Steve Rogers, but they didn't. He comes back, thank God. But it follows the storyline of First Avenger. Peggy is really sad to see Steve. She thinks Steve is dead because they bring up "You Owe Me a Dance," and so Peggy is fighting off this octopus-looking creature, this big squid. I don't know what this creature is overall in the final moments of the episode, but Hydra's building this thing, and Steve Rogers does come back to save the day with Peggy, and then Steve sees Peggy trying to bring this creature back into its own world, and Steve's like, well, you owe me a dance, though. But Peggy does go back, and yeah, that's how First Avenger ended up. But then the end of this episode was pretty cool. I really like the ending of this episode. She ends up in the 2012 world, just like Steve Rogers, and meets Nick Fury and Hawkeye, Clint Barton. That was pretty cool at the end, hearing Sam Jackson's voice. I don't know if Jeremy rendered the voice. It didn't really sound like him, but that was a pretty cool ending overall. And then the Watcher ends it off, and then we go to the next episode. That's the end of episode 1. So overall, not any big surprise and twist reveals. Just a cool bringing us back into the First Avenger, because Captain America, the First Avenger is one of my favorite MCU movies. Amari, I'm doing great, man. If you saw the first episode of What If, Amari, definitely let me know your thoughts. So that's my quick overall thoughts on episode 1 of What If. I can't wait to see the rest of the series. It hasn't fully hooked me yet, but I'm interested for something different, because we had WandaVision, which was crazy and weird, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier seemed like that basic and story we've seen in the MCU, but Loki was just mind-blowing. Maybe the show will blow my mind. I'm hoping it does. I know some of my critic friends, they got to see the first 3 episodes, and they said the next 2 are out of this world awesome and will get you hooked. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, thank you so much for watching episode 1 review. If you liked it, please hit that like button and consider clicking that subscribe button. I'll be talking What If every week, giving my thoughts. Look forward to my episode 2 review next week. You guys are seriously all the best. All my social media links are in the description below. Have a great week, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.